This is a property from the outside. This is 80 Westminster. We're going to give this outside a facelift, add some curb appeal, power wash, remove those shrubs on the side here, and then I'll show you guys inside. Over here we have the basement. As you can see, is in pretty bad shape. We're going to give this paint as well. The electrical panel, as you can see, is in fuses. We're going to upgrade that to at least 100 amps and break, so it's safe for the person that will live here or the family that will live here. And that's the rest of the basement. This is the HVAC, super old. Again, we're going to upgrade that. Hello everyone, I am at my 80 Westminster project. The walls are almost all down. This is happening pretty much around the whole house. So they're in really bad shape. There were different patterns on them, popcorn ceiling, I mean just gross and really old stuff. So I'm gonna make it look pretty. I'll show you around. This is the inside. As you can see, we already removed all the floor that was here, and we're gonna put brand new floor in here. We're gonna upgrade that kitchen. This is the bathroom. This on my right side is going to be upgraded. This is the second floor. Again, we removed that drop ceiling that looked horrible. We're going to upgrade it, put new drywall in, especially in this room. So what you just saw is one of my properties in West Seneca. I am an investor from Western New York, and I just scratched the surface a little bit with the property that I'm currently renovating, or one of them, and just wanted to show you a little bit around of what it looks like right now. It actually looks good. It used to look way worse than that before we started working on it. So I can't wait to show you guys what it's going to look like when it's done. But let's dive into our topic for the day. So as I said, today I'm going to talk about how to pick the right contractor and what to do before meeting with them, on how to make sure that they're not going to just take your money and leave, basically. So tip number 1, always do research before meeting with your contractor. That is so important, especially in the world we live in today. If they're a good contractor, they will most likely be online. You'll be able to find them on Facebook, or they might have a website, something that you can tell that they exist. This is a huge issue. I mean, one of my co-investor friends, she hired a contractor. He gave her a great price. It was a low price, the lowest she could get, and she couldn't. He worked for 3 days, everything was going well. 4th day, he didn't show up. She tried to call him the day after that, and the day after that, and then a week goes by. Come to find out, the guy was in jail. He wasn't even a real contractor. I'm not even sure what he was involved in. So as I said, please check your references, or check them, research them online, because it is huge. I mean, you don't want to end up like that. So, I mean, needless to say, she ended up losing some money on that, and, I'm sure she learned for the next time. So, tip number 2. You want to ask for references and cross-check those references. Again, that is very important. You want to be able to call somebody and ask them about the details of their job, and how did you pay, or how did they pay him, and how long did it take to finish the job, and how was the work done, if he can send you some pictures if he has any. And by asking specific questions about the project itself, you'll be able to tell if the number that they gave you, or the reference that they gave you, it could be a family member, or if it was a real client, and if the client was satisfied or not. So again, a good contractor will have a website or a Facebook page, and they will have plenty of references for you to go through. If they just give you one reference, you'd be like, okay, can I have at least 3 references? Then you'll see it gets a little bit, say, okay, I'll check, let me get back to you on that, or I don't know, I gotta find them. I don't really keep numbers like that of clients, or blah blah. So you'll know when they start lying, or when they don't have the right, if they are a real contractor or not. If they're a real contractor and you ask them for 3 references, they can tell, sure, I'll give you my list, and you can pick and choose from whoever you want to from the list. That's what a good contractor will do, or will say. My third tip is to tell them straight up that they're not going to be the only person or contractor that is going to bid in this project. And I think that's, again, super important, especially if you're an investor. You want you want them to make sure that they know that they're not the only ones, that they're going to have some competition, so they need to think well about the price that they're going to give you. Another thing I would tell them is let them know that you're in this for the long term. If you have a second property under contract, or if you're closed on a second property already, make sure that they know that, because it will let them know that, okay, you're serious about this, so you have a second house ready that needs to start renovation, and a good contractor will want to work with you in the long term. If you're an investor, you don't really want to go and find a new contractor for every house that you rehab. That's time consuming, it's frustrating, it's money pit because you're waiting on them to come and evaluating the so again, please make sure that they know upfront that you're serious and you're doing this for the long term. That way they'll know that they can't give you the highest price, because if somebody else comes and give them a lower price, then, and if they want the job for long term, then they're going to lose the bid, and you're most likely not going to work with them in the long term. So knowing this, it puts you in a great position of them being, or you being, a little bit in power. And that's really important, because especially if you're just starting out and you don't know a lot about renovations, contractors will think that they can just give you whatever price they want, and you won't question it because you don't know a lot about renovations. So keep that in mind. My fourth tip is to ask people for recommendations. It could be a family member, it can be a drive-by. You're driving by the property and you see people working on one. You can go in, ask for a card or the name or the phone number of who's doing the renovations. As I said, a family member, friends, co-workers, other co-investors if you're an investor. And that's super important. You won't know until you talk to somebody. When I started getting involved in this business and I started talking to people about it, everybody that was around me, they were just saying, oh, my dad's a contractor, or oh, my uncle's a contractor, my uncle's a drywall specialist, or my father does this and that. All my coworkers were saying that, and I was so surprised because I never knew that. And if you don't talk about it, of course you're not going to know that. So definitely ask people for that. And an important tip is, when I get references from coworkers or family members or friends, close friends, I always make sure to tell them that, this is business and it's professional, and if there's something that doesn't coordinate, maybe the personalities don't go along, or, he's used or she's used to certain expectations and I want certain things to be done my way. So I would tell them straight up front that, I don't want anything to get in between us. And if I don't end up working with your dad or your uncle or your cousin, whatever it is, that please don't take it personally, because this is just business. And usually that served me pretty well. I had a friend whose dad was a contractor, and I told him this up front, and I said, if we can't work together, then I don't want anything changing our friendship, and it's not personal. I still like your dad as your dad, but maybe not as a contractor. So that happened. We met with the dad, the contractor. We didn't end up working together, and our friendship is intact. So those are pretty much my top tips, my top 5 tips for working with a contractor. And lastly, I want to tell you guys 2 more things. You don't have to do these, but I do them and I recommend them. It's worked for me so far. First of all, ask them for the time frame. How long is it going to take for the project to be done? When is it going to start the job, and when is it going to finish it? And when you sign the contract, you can add this clause in the contract, whether it's his contract or your own contract, that tells you, or that states that if the contractor goes over the time frame, they get money deducted from their final payment. Mine is $150 or less. Now, unless there's something like natural disaster, or they call me beforehand, then we can work it out. But if they don't do anything, like if they don't just show up for the work, that clause protects you. So take that in mind. So this is all I had today for you guys. Let me know what you thought about it. If it helped you, if it didn't help you, just let me know in the comments below, or give me a thumbs up, and I'll do my best to answer all the questions and concerns that you have. So thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.